All right.
Hi, I'm Bob Schock. Welcome to my show.
What's a slip and fall?
That's kind of a generic term that I'll have to define, as a slip and fall can include a real slip and fall where there's been a wet surface that becomes very slippery and the person walking doesn't see it or realize how slippery it is and falls. The other is what we commonly call trip and falls, which is what you're probably more thinking of, is when you're walking down the street on the sidewalk and there's a rise between two parts of the sidewalk and you hit that edge and then you fall.
Which I do quite frequently.
But that's the other part. The two issues that you're involved with on both are whether it's public property or private property, or perhaps both.
Why does it make a difference?
Because against a public agency in the state of California, there is a 6-month claim statute, which means you have to file a claim with the governmental entity with certain very limited exceptions within 6 months of the date of the fall or the trip or whatever it is. Secondarily, if it's a governmental agency, they have a number of immunities that make them less liable than someone else might be.
Like?
A private individual, or a grocery store, or something like that. And I had mentioned that there could be an overlap.
Right.
In some municipalities in California, the ordinances are such that the owner of the property adjacent to the pavement is also responsible for maintaining the pavement. So it may be that person's responsibility, which has a longer statute, and it also may still be the city or the municipality.
Now, someone watching this is going to want to ask, you say the owner of property adjacent. Give us an example.
That's probably a legal word and I shouldn't have used it. If you have a house,
yes,
and there's a sidewalk in front of your house, and then there's the street,
right,
you may be responsible for maintaining that sidewalk in front of your house.
How do you know if you are responsible?
Boy, that's a hard question. The easy question is to call the city and find out from the building department or the streets department who's responsible for it, and if there's an ordinance that provides that you're liable for it. More than likely, since they like to save money, they will lead you astray and tell you if you are, whether you are or not. But still, if you look in the ordinance, you can tell.
What kind of cases have you handled in this area?
Many. Many cases. The bottom line is most trip and fall cases on public streets, sidewalks, are not ones that you can litigate because the differential between the two parts are such that they're half-inch or less. There's case law. Bob's Big Boy is one of the cases. Ursino provide that as a matter of law, that's an insignificant defect, and therefore you can't sue. So you go ahead and bring a lawsuit. The other side cites that case and other cases, and the court throws you out. Once you get up to the 1-inch level,
the 1 inch of the crack or something
1
like
inch
that?
deviation between the two pieces of cement or whatever. So a crack would be width-wise, but you're talking about levels. Once you get up to 1 inch, then you have some other issues. There's a recent case that was decided today, July 2nd, and was published today, that holds you really have to look at the totality and not just the height of the crack or the deviation, because it may be jagged, which might make it more dangerous. There may be shade coming down that obstructs the crack, and various things. So there is some ways to get around it, but it's very difficult at this point.
But from a layperson's perspective, if it's the city, if it's someone's responsibility to take care of that where I've fallen, there shouldn't be a crack at all or anything over an inch, right?
Wrong.
Okay.
The city actually the state and the court system has made a decision that it would be impossible to make sure or ensure that there were no differences in leveling. That there's always going to be natural ground movement, ground leveling, so that there should be some basis for not having liability if it's not that big of a problem. And that's where the term insignificant comes in. If it's inconsequential or an insignificant risk, then there's no liability. So they're starting to say, well, once you're getting up to 1 inch, that's a big enough difference that maybe it should be fixed. So that's basically it.
What should a person do if they think that they're might be the victim of a slip and fall, what's the first thing? Calling you.
Well, aside from calling me, is getting medical treatment.
Yes.
Making sure
Yeah,
you're okay.
yeah.
Or to find out the nature and extent of your injuries. But the second one is to contact an attorney so they can go out and investigate it, usually, in our case, free of charge, to see if, in fact, there is enough to warrant filing a claim against the city or filing a notice to the insurance company of the owner of the property or whatever.
You live in Oakland, and so do I. Is there any part of Oakland that is where one is more prone to slip and falls than another?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. Probably the easiest if you went down to Jacqueline Square into the old parts of Oakland.
Right.
Most of that area have not been kept up, and they haven't fixed them up, even though they should have fixed them up. And you can find 1.5-inch deviations down there and many cracks and stuff that make it pretty dangerous. And the basic thing is they're not doing it because they're waiting to do a new building there or putting something else there, and when they do it, then they'll put the new stuff in. But at this point, because they've left it, they're exposing people to increased chance of injury by tripping and falling or slipping and falling.
Bob, as usual, another great and informative episode. We'll be coming back to you for more discussions on slip and falls.
Thank you. This is Bob Schock, the Oakland personal injury attorney. Review it. Have a case that you'd like reviewed, we'd be happy to review it at no charge to you to determine whether we feel that we can help you attain a better settlement, a better result, or reach justice.